ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will survive.
I didn't watch the president at the UN because, quite frankly, I didn't want to be triggered and upset. But I did watch a lot of it. We played some of the clips. But the BBC, and again, if this media that we have can't do this, please hand in your, let the FCC run everything, and then we know we are state-run media.
Yeah.
We, know that we are actually under a state-rule media. But the BBC took Trump's speech, and not one single United States outlet did this. And it wasn't hard. So I'm going to play clips from the BBC's taking in what Trump said and then reporting what he... All right, Smiz, play clip 1.
President Trump has addressed world leaders at the United Nations in New York for the first time in 5 years. In an extraordinary speech, he took aim at European countries, saying they were going to hell because of immigration and a failed experiment of open borders. He criticised London's mayor, Sir Sadiq Khan, the first Muslim mayor of a Western capital, and said London wanted to go to Sharia law. A spokesman for the mayor said they wouldn't dignify the president's appalling and bigoted comments with a response. Donald Trump also called climate change the greatest con job perpetrated on the world and said green energy schemes were a joke. Well, BBC Verify's Nick Beak has been looking at each of his claims. More from him in a moment. But first, our North America editor, Sarah Smith, is in New York and has just sent us this report.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Donald Trump came with a message to the UN about where it's going wrong and to tell its member countries what they need to change, railing against what he called the double-tailed monster of immigration and green energy. He repeated his familiar claim to have ended 7 wars and complained he'd had no help from the UN in doing so.
All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much.
The escalator stopped just as he got on, a perfect illustration for Mr. Trump of everything he thinks is wrong with the UN.
Come on. So they corrected. It didn't stop in the middle. Just as you were approaching, it stopped. Yeah. And by the way, since then, the mayor of London did respond. He didn't respond at the time, but Sir Sadiq Khan said that I think President Trump has shown he is racist, he is sexist, he is misogynistic, and he is Islamophobic. When people say things, when people act in a certain way, when people behave in a certain way, you've got to believe them, he said. And he also said, I think I'm living rent free. I think he has a crush on me. He also said that. He's taking a little page from Gavin Newsom. But thank you, BBC, for, you're going to present what he said and then correct in real time. Okay, I'm going to play the second clip. Smez.
Immigration, he said, is destroying countries around the world, saying Europe in particular is in serious trouble.
They've been invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. Illegal aliens are pouring into Europe. Nobody's doing anything to change it, to get them out. It's not sustainable.
He singled out Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, for criticism.
I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible mayor. And it's been so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law. But you're in a different country. You can't do that.
Mr. Khan has said he's not going to dignify these bigoted comments with a response.
But he did. All right. Part 3. Play it, Smith.
Would be too great.
The other great threat facing the world, according to President Trump, is not climate change, but attempts to halt it with renewable energy. Global warming, he said, is a hoax.
It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion.
He specifically chided the UK for not drilling for more oil under the North Sea. For almost an hour, he lectured world leaders on what they're doing wrong, as he bragged about what he sees as his great successes in office.
Now we do know that the rest of the world is leading heavily into, because they recognize that this globe can't support the 8 billion of us plus.
Yeah.
Sustainable. It's not sustainable what is happening, and he doesn't look very forward thinking. And by the way, the Sharia law thing, they debunked that. That was never even. I mean, it's so weird. It's so weird. Okay.
It's crazy.
But here's where the fact checking came in. I just want to lay the groundwork, because it's important that if we don't have journalism like this, if we don't demand journalism like this, we're cooked. It's over. And it's unfortunate that an outside country is actually doing the work that we should be doing. But okay, play the other clip 4.
And Nick, you've been going through some of the claims. Let's start with London wants to go to Sharia law.
Yeah, that's right, Sophie. This was the startling claim made by President Trump today. Part of his message that immigration is destroying European countries, including the UK. We know that for the best part of a decade, Trump has attacked Sir Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London. But this appears to be the first time the president has claimed that London wants to go to Sharia law. There was this myth on the internet about 5 years ago that was quickly and easily debunked that the legal system would be moving to Sharia law. So that was then. Today, the mayor of London's office said that these comments didn't really dignify a response. They called them appalling and bigoted. And a government minister said for the record that Trump's claim was false.
What about climate change? The president said it was the greatest con job ever.
Yeah, he did, Sophie. The thing is that decades of specialist research really torpedoes that argument. The vast majority of scientists and experts say that climate change caused by humans is real. And here's a quote. This is from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, made up of hundreds of leading scientists. Human activities, principally through emissions of greenhouse gases, have unequivocally caused global warming.
And finally, he also said, he told world leaders that he has ended 7 wars. Has he?
No, he hasn't, Sophie. That is not the case. Trump claimed that thousands of people were dying in each of these 7 wars he talked about. But the reality is very different. Some of them were very quick skirmishes across borders. There was one that was a dispute between Egypt and Ethiopia over water, over the construction of a dam on the River Nile. There was no fighting there. President Trump says he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, but the war in Gaza continues, as to the war in Ukraine, which, of course, Mr. Trump said he could end in just one day, Sophie.
So what would happen if every day our media would fact check all of the lies? What would happen if they would just do their damn job?
Listen, I think that we would have an entirely different conversation in this nation. The fact is, there's so few people are going to go to outside sources for news and information. So few people are even willing to watch the news every day, right? So when you have that ability to actually tell the truth, this whole country would be different. Just the truth alone. And then to point out the lies, I mean, that would be the holy grail. But the just sort of systemic ignoring. And now you've got the fear factor, right? Because if this happens to Jimmy Kimmel, or if this happens to comedians and they have the ability to take comedians off the air, we've spent so much time talking about how egregious it is that the inaction of elected leaders and government leaders, whether at the state or federal or the local levels. But what we have not talked about is what I feel like is also part and parcel to that, is the callousness of capitalism that we are seeing, right? In that there's so much power has been consolidated in big corporations and big conglomerates that so many people in the corporate sector and the private sector are hiding behind shareholder value, and they're capitulating to what's happening in government in the private sector without any sort of adherence to the moral commitments that they've made or the values that they've expressed previously. And that is just as scary, because if the private sector just folds to these government powers, we're looking at Nazi Germany all over again.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, the beginning of it.
Yes, it'll be similar. I think we're an X factor, but we'll see. We'll see. I think you're absolutely right. And it is all about these multinational, international companies. Let me play this last clip of fact checking by the BBC again. Thank you. And they're not a perfect outlet.
No.
But at least they're doing their basic job. Okay, play it, Smith.
Sarah, how did this address to the United Nations go down?
Well, that's really interesting, because you could see how uneasy many of the world leaders listening to it were by the looks on their faces. But they haven't come out and criticised them yet. In fact, we've had the UN Secretary General repeating that they believe that America is essential to the work of the United Nations. Ursula von der Leyen from the European Union, for instance, has said she agrees with Donald Trump about Europe's need to end its reliance on Russian oil. I mean, Donald Trump came here 7 years ago and bragged about his achievements in office, and the people listening to him actually laughed at him. It was a humiliating moment for him, but things have changed so much. Nobody dares do that now. So even as they listen to him lecture them on how they should be running their own countries with his fixations on climate change and on immigration, he was still applauded at the end of it, because everybody knows they have to treat Donald Trump much more carefully now.
Our North America editor Sarah Smith in New York. Thank you.
Drew.
Wow.
That's where I wanted. So in the midst of them fact checking, they are also letting us know that these nations are afraid. And are they afraid because we have an unhinged leader who has nuclear codes? Are they afraid because what you're saying is that this is much bigger than the United States of America, and they know that this is much bigger than the United States of America? But I'm also, again, I'm encouraged because we the people are still we the people. And you don't have a country without us. You don't have a company without our dollars and our workforce. And this is going to be interesting how this is going to play out. And I'm curious if enough of us are going to wake the F up.
Yeah. Listen, I see the vast disappearing and exiting of Black folks in white collar America every day. And I feel like we need to ring the alarm on it. In terms of, I think we're at the point now where we need to use our consumer power to start to engage corporate action and corporate policy. In that we need to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. And we need to have, one of the biggest things that came out of the whole Charlie Kirk thing for me, Karen, and you and I talked about this a little bit, is that the conservative movement, the MAGA movement, the entire thing, they never come off the campaign trail. They're constantly trying to drum up the electorate to turn new voters, right? The biggest voting bloc in this country are people who don't vote.
Correct. And
they're just out there nonstop. Who are those people who are churning votes for, humanity politics, right? What is that? Who are the people who are out there doing that?
We are here on Urban View, by the way.
Absolutely.
We are here on Urban. And I just had a conversation. The reason why I'm raising my church finger is because I just had a conversation today about that. And it's not even about meeting that. It's like that should be the way it is. The fact that these MAGA kids are showing up on Black college campuses to antagonize, what does that look? And it's not debate. It's antagonizing. But it's also so they can capture more material to go and recruit more people because this is that. Oh my God, it's a
and
tactic.
This is a movement. Let's put the videos out there. Look how we we showed up on. We came to their turf. We did this. We so bold. We so bad. That whole thing, right? For me, I think that what we know is that in the midst of drumming up new votes and mobilizing votes and voters and educating people that this is your life depends on this, right? And I think that there's enough discord and disappointment and agita in particularly rural and urban voters right now, that we should be going out to say, here's how you solve this for the next time. But in addition to that, there has to be at some point a point of reckoning of consumer power.
We're ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will